Hey everybody, what's going on? Hellmite here, bringing you another video from Grab the Lantern today, and, well, let's talk about that Season Start cinematic, shall we? Now, if you haven't seen it already, go watch it right now. I have it linked down in the description below. It won't take you very much time to watch it, as you may notice. And for those of you who are about to say, but Hellmite, the Climb Season Start cinematic was also super short. It was like a minute 40. And that one was awesome. How bad could it be? Again, just watch this one and then come back and we can talk about it here in a little bit. Done? Alright, cool. Let's get on with it. So the new Season Start cinematic, I don't want to just be negative about it. There were things that I liked. I liked the narration over the top that was composed entirely of champion voice lines. I thought that was a cool way of sort of calling back to these individual champions, to have players be able to say, oh, I recognize that line, and to then be able to know, who said that. I think that was a really cool touch. I liked the 4K Summoner's Rift that we were able to sort of zoom over. I thought that was a really cool way of seeing Summoner's Rift, and a very interesting take on the map that we've all come to know and love. And what I would have loved to have really seen are champions battling it out on that rift as we were sort of zooming across it, which you'll notice, of course, that there were none. Instead, all we had was an extremely dry voiceover and a bunch of esports sound bites from a decade ago. And this fundamentally is why I think that the Season Start cinematic was just so wrong. There's so many things I could realistically say about it that I don't think I need to, but I'm going to anyways. First, obviously, it was only narration. There was no actual song to go over the top. And as a result, we don't have a anthem for Season 13 in the way that we've had in seasons previous with things like Warriors or The Call or, what's the other one? I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but suffice to say, we've always had an anthem for these Season Start videos, and instead we have, I guess, a speech. It's nice. It's not as cool as having an actual song to associate with the season. Second, nothing happens in the video. It's literally just going through a map that we all already know like the back of our hands, and as a result, how interesting could it possibly be? We know what Summoner's Rift looks like, and seeing it in 4K is nice, but it's not the same as actually having a plot, a story, investment, being able to see the characters that we love, and right, that's the thing that League of Legends is known for, right? If you said, what is League of Legends about, and you had one word to describe it, I would say champions. That is what League of Legends is about, and I would guess that most people would agree with me on that particular point. And this is a very championless Season Start cinematic. They just straight up weren't in there. And this is doubly disappointing, not only because it just wasn't a very interesting video because of the lack of actual characters, but because Riot has been using the Season Start cinematics over the last couple of years as a vessel for plot development. For some players, the people who never read any lore ever, which go do you guys, but that was the only time in the year that they would ever experience lore content, period, right? Like just watching the Season Start cinematic and saying, oh, I wonder what Kai'Sa and Taliyah were up to, and oh, Sejuani and Olaf are fighting these bear guys. I don't really know what that's about, but that's kind of neat. Instead, there was none of that, right? No lore development whatsoever for these people, so they're just getting to play the entire season with no idea of the context of the world of League of Legends. And for us lore buffs, for whom the Season Start cinematic is a big part of the year's lore drop, well, we got nothing. There's nothing to speculate on. We didn't get to see any of our favorite characters running around, duking it out, showing us character development. There was none of that. And this is just in such a stark contrast to a couple of years ago where Riot took the Season Start cinematic and made it a lore dump. The Ruination, or At Ruination's Edge cinematic was the start of that year's whole story, right? They said the Season Start cinematic is going to be entirely lore-based. It is the first chapter in the story that we're trying to tell. Here it is. Everyone get excited. And even if you didn't care about the lore, of course, it was a cool animation, cool visuals and everything, and gave us our first look at Viego, the Ruined King. And instead of that, we got an empty map with someone talking over the top of it. And the esports quotes as well are just a slap in the face. It really gives the feeling that Riot want this year to be about esports and esports only, and the ranked grind only, and we don't care about lore anymore, we don't care about the casual player anymore who plays for fun. All we care about is that when you play League of Legends, it's the sweatiest, grindiest, most try-hard experience in existence. This video is perfectly emblematic of that, right? They didn't even pick any, like, new esports sound bites. It's all the old ones that we've heard before, and I don't know about you guys, but Faker, what was that? Was only hype the first time we heard it, maybe, right? It's not hype anymore. It's just cringy as all get out. Now, to be fair to Riot, I do want to be fair, a little bit fair about this. Riot have actually already gotten on Twitter, and this is crazy fast for the scale at which companies work and the speed at which they're actually able to put out official announcements. So, like, this is really, really quick. But they've already gone out on their official Twitter and basically said, hey, we're sorry that this cinematic let down a lot of players. We're going to have conversations about how to make it better, but also that we had other ideas for the Season Start cinematic that fell through for reasons, and instead we decided that this was a good approach for us to take. Now, taking them at their face value, that's acceptable, right? I don't, maybe not acceptable, but that's fine, right? It's understandable. I can see why Riot coordinating with a company to try and get an animation together, and then either they can't get their stuff figured out fast enough, or the company goes under, or just doesn't have the resources or the bandwidth to get it together, or to get it to the quality that Riot wanted by the time of the Season Start cinematics launch. And so instead Riot pivot and they say, okay, well, what can we do that will still give us some degree of hype, but also that, you know, we can still put out in time, and they come up with this idea instead, right? That's understandable. I can see the decision-making process behind that decision and why Riot would do this when their previous season cinematics have been so much better. I could totally understand that, and even though I don't necessarily like it, I could see it. Of course, the tinfoil hat theory version of me is saying that Riot's executives basically said, we don't care about story anymore, the MMO's coming out in 10 years, and when that comes out, that'll be all the story we need. In the meantime, let's make League of Legends more about the ranked grind and more tryhardy and more people just grinding games without having any fun with it, because that's what makes us money, so make a cinematic that reflects those values, right? That's the tinfoil hat theory. I don't necessarily put any stock into it, especially given that Riot have come out and basically said, yeah, this was a mistake. But all that said, I think that Riot really need to take a step back, and they need to be able to say, like, I would have given them more credit if they'd have gone on Twitter and basically said, hey, we don't have a Season Start cinematic this year because for various reasons things fell through. I get that companies can't always give us reasons behind why things fell through. If they're still in production, for example, or if there are other related reasons for why they can't talk about that, right? Like I totally understand why they can't always necessarily give us complete context behind everything that they're doing, right? But at the same time, I would have given them more credit if they'd have come out and said, we can't do it this year, and instead, so we're just not going to have one, we apologize for the inconvenience, right? I almost would have had more respect for them, or even if they said, we have this other video that we're doing instead, it's not what we had planned originally, but here it is instead, right? Because then I could at least temper my expectations. The idea, though, that going into this, we're all expecting something super hype, and then Riot released this letdown of a video at terrible hours for engagement, period, it makes me feel like they're trying to hide something, that they're trying to hide their bad work, and I don't like thinking that Riot are trying to put out subpar content. And even, I would love for Riot to give us a reason, right? Even just a vague reason, to be able to say, yeah, so we couldn't put it out because we couldn't get a direction in time, or because the company that we were working with had other difficulties and they weren't able to finish finish the work on time, or whatever, right? But like a reason would help at least justify what happened here, and that's not what we got. So very, very disappointed with the cinematic this year. I'm still kind of holding out hope that maybe Riot will actually upload a real Season Start cinematic at some point this year, maybe in like August or something for the start of the next split. Maybe that's why they couldn't have done the Season Start cinematic the way they did before, because they have two splits now, so they're trying to split it up a little bit. I don't know, but suffice to say, very disappointed, hoping that there's something more substantial down the line, but in the meantime, I definitely want to say, Riot, you need to do better. That's going to be it for me, though. You'll have to let me know what you think of the Season Start cinematic down in the comments section below, what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear it, especially if you liked it. Tell me why you like the new Season Start cinematic and why you felt like it embodies League of Legends. I'd love to hear that down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video today, go ahead and give it a like, and if you really enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. I upload a video every Monday, Friday, and on patch days as well. This is a little bit of a bonus extra special one because of my disappointment. Once again, though, thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I'll talk to you all later.